Good evening, everyone. I am a 23-year veteran of law enforcement, and I specifically in the public safety communication sector of the California Highway Patrol. I am that calm you hear when you dial 911 because your child is not breathing. I'm that calm you hear when you are having an anxiety attack. I am that calm you hear when you are trying to navigate through a difficult situation. And in my case, it's that moment when you wake up at night and you have a feeling and you go downstairs to check on your mother who is in hospice care, fighting for her life, battling cancer. And when you get there, you realize that the fight is no longer being won. This is my mother, Joanne. This is 36 days before she died. And like many in her position or otherwise, she deserves to be treated with dignity and with every ounce of empathy available when dialing 911 for help. She deserves guardians and law enforcement that still subscribe and adhere to their respective organization's mission statement and philosophy. Not those who have gone wayward and down that slippery slope of misconduct, as you all well know. This is November 21, 2018, the day I dialed 911. And this is the day my mother left and never came back. You know, when 911 is dialed for moments like this, that call should be answered by someone that still believes in the golden rule of treating people how they like to be treated. And I'll tip my hat to the Los Angeles County Fire Department because when I called them, they honored my request not to roll with lights and sirens and blazing down the street and with no resistance. And it was a nice, quiet, and dignified response, you know, absent of a fanfare. And that's something my mother would have liked. She wasn't that kind of lady. And I did not experience a rude or discourteous voice, simply trying to hurry up to the next call or get to the lunch break, right? No, I've been a 911 professional for over 2 decades. And trust me, I've seen the good and the bad, and there's a lot of lunch breaks. And I'm sorry, you know, for those of you in the audience, if you've experienced this, I apologize on behalf of all public safety professionals. Okay, so how do we begin this process, this course correction for those of you that experienced or, you know, had a bad 911 call? You know, how do we change the narrative? I know it might sound a bit crazy, a bit ironic, but the term I'm going to use is specifically or typically used for criminal offenders and not law enforcement. But law enforcement is in need of rehabilitation, specifically in the realm of its recruitment. The Highway Patrol and other organizations cannot afford to continue with a blanket and one-dimensional approach to recruitment like they have. Staffing levels are hurting as a result of low recruitment numbers. Even now, the agencies that have been defunded are now being refunded to pay for overtime. Well, let that digest. They're being defunded and they're being refunded, okay? Think on that. So overtime in this instance, because there's been a severe shortage of personnel. Careers in law enforcement are simply not that attractive, especially with antiquated ways of recruiting. Now, for the Highway Patrol and other agencies to be more successful and sustainable, it must have a better and more effective recruitment process. In this process, there should be philosophy, there should be empathy and community building that all departmental employees, not just those assigned to the recruitment unit, but to everyone, subscribe to. Now, these tenets will be anchors that guide them during the course of their duties. Now, putting this to form, my team's design challenge was to reimagine the recruitment experience. And what resulted was a recruitment model that embodies all the good that the California Highway Patrol possesses. The good from its mission statement of providing the highest level of safety, service, and security, to the nuggets of philosophy, responsibility, and success as outlined in its current strategic plan. Now, to truly reimagine this experience, we first had to do the research, and we will honor that. There were several items that came up, or several key themes that came up in research, but the ones that we focused on most were the importance of philosophy, community building, and empathy. Okay. So under the veil of philosophy, we have who to recruit. And we discovered that 79% of job seekers will consider an organization's mission statement and philosophy before applying, according to Calvello. Now, this puts CHP in a unique position to attract those candidates that mirror the organization's philosophy, values, and goals. This is a great equation, right? We want what you have, and you like what we got, okay? This is not the baby boomer generation or Generation X where it was just about a paycheck. You know, current generations, primarily the millennials, are more focused on what an organization is invested in and also what they're divesting in. So we need to pay attention. Now, under the veil of community building, we have where to recruit. Now, current departmental policy dictates that employees should be representative of the areas it serves. So diverse communities is the answer, easy answer. Yeah, well, not so much, because how does this happen? You know, every community out there does not embrace law enforcement with open arms. Not as simple as it used to be. There was a time when police, fire, and educators were some of the most respected professions around. Unfortunately, that respect has eroded over time. Now let's take a major disruptor like the 1992 civil unrest in Los Angeles. Some call you the LA riots. Now, as a resident of South Central Los Angeles at that time, I can tell you that there was no way law enforcement could effectively recruit in this area. It would actually be dangerous to do so. I'm telling you, I was there, I lived it. So what has to happen? You know, trust must be established first. And you see this picture I'm showing you here is ironic because I now work for this agency that was viewed as the enemy in 1992. So establish trust. And once trust is established, we can begin to change the attitude towards law enforcement by building teams, developing community partnerships, collaborations, and other relational building concepts. Now, how to recruit. Under the veil of empathy, we have how to recruit. Now, currently, 89% of professionals globally feel their work life is getting worse, according to McLaren. Now, that means it's essential for a recruiter of all organizations to practice empathy at every stage of the hiring process. And in that, we attract great candidates and show that we care. And out of these key themes was born an opportunity from my team. With these things in mind, we now have an opportunity to help the California Highway Patrol enhance and embrace its recruitment process in a way that makes both the organization and the potential candidates feel valued with a sense of fellowship in the process. Amen. Now, this translates into an actionable question. How might we build the role of the recruiter to mimic the role of the captain of a spaceship like James T. Kirk from the Starship Enterprise, searching for new frontiers and forging new relationships, new lands, and on an expedition to discover a new world, new life, new recruit in this image, all right? Now, I know it may sound a bit biblical, but be rest assured, we're not comparing James T. Kirk to Jesus in no way. Amen. Now, in reimagining, we had some excellent opportunities here. And the first one was to create a philosophy for dispatch recruitment that never existed. And I'll share with you just a snippet of that philosophy, and that is to create a new species of recruiter that will attract a similar candidate for employee selection. Now, this is achieved through the lenses of integrity, lifeblood, ethics, systems view, and worldview. Next, we built a job description, also first of its kind for communications recruitment. Now, like most tenured organizations, this is why this is important, they tend to rely on brand and reputation for sustainability. However, as we've seen with current events, organizations like law enforcement cannot afford to let the narrative just play out. They have to take control. The generations of today are separate and different from the ones that were first around in 1929 when the California Highway Patrol was born. The job description should only articulate, or not only articulate the Department of Philosophy and mission statement, but also include exclusive descriptors of the desired recruiter as well. And the last idea we reimagined was a training program for recruiters. And in this program, we have 8 interactive training modules, each of them extrapolated from the job description. And then we also have an expectation of a project teach back to demonstrate the application of the learnings. Now, how we tested our program, or our prototype as we call in our leaders program. We expanded this to much more than just law enforcement personnel. We even expanded this to retired personnel as well. Hi, Robin. So end users or the folks that we use for testing, they sat through a sample presentation of the training program. They also were exposed to snippets of the lesson plan and activities so that we can get really accurate and good feedback. Now, from the feedback, we have our first and we have our second iteration. Now, our initial idea was very broad. It was the idea of an actual academy for aspiring recruiters. And, you know, we wanted a whole recruitment ecosystem inclusive of a philosophy and job description, training components, and many other things. We wanted a whole supported system of recruitment called the Telecommunicators Academy. And in my mind, I saw a big campus with a bunch of Oompa Loompas running around with headsets, with 911 signs, things like that, you know? Okay, anyway. But now after testing and additional empathy work, what resulted was a more refined program called the Communications Recruiter Course, the CRT. Because from our feedback, what needed to happen was a change in aesthetics and structure. The program needed to be familiar to those channels that we were going to push this up through. Because I don't know if you know, those of you that are familiar with state or government agencies, you know, they're very status quo when it comes to verbiage and things like that. So we really want this program to take flight. So in order for that to happen, we have to jump back in the box a little bit and put it in a framework that, you know, they could all recognize. But fortunately, through this process, the content was not compromised. So we still deliver the same content, just a different look. Okay, so now to the training components. Really excited about this. Before I go on, just if you look to the left of the slide, there's a picture there of a document, and that document is a portion of the actual package that will be submitted for this program to be implemented. So this is the real deal, folks. All right, so first component, the shell of this whole thing is an interactive process. It's non-lecture based, it's active participation in a Socratic environment, inclusive of learning activities. For those of you that have never been in a Socratic environment, simply stated, there's no yes or no questions and no yes or no answers. Full engagement to really produce the learning. And the learning activities, those are modules or times when the participants will learn about empathy, coaching, or mentorship, community building, things like that, just to really enhance the curriculum. Now, the other component here was the philosophy, which is so important, right? Philosophy is a heartbeat of this whole thing. So just to share a couple of highlights from our philosophy is that recruitment is the lifeblood of the organization, and organizations must effectively recruit those individuals that best represent their goals and values. And the recruiter mirrors these same values and goals. Now, that last bullet there, it resonates so deeply with me, and I'll tell you why. Because when we're doing the research, I stumbled across a picture, and it's this picture right here. And in this picture, we have a member of the public showing us a reflection of ourselves. And you know, for me, that was a bit painful because we should not be at a point where our stakeholders feel that they need to show us who we are. No, we're better than that. We're better than that. So I'm very happy that in recruitment, we're using mirrors, right? We're using mirrors. And the recruiter is a mirror of the organization, and our candidates will be a mirror of the recruiter. So we don't have this in the future, hopefully. Amen, amen. All right. So our last component was the job description, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, and it will also double as teachable modules and really cement the philosophy. And a couple of highlights from the job description is the expectation to partnership with local community organizations, empathetic selection, hiring and development, a mentorship, and a continuing recruitment education requirement as well. Because, like I said, CSU was born in 1929, and we have to evolve. This is really that, you know, that old adage, adapt or die, right? So we have to stay current, okay? Now, the last component, correct, sorry, I think I said that was the last one. This is the last component here. Last component here is our teach-back requirement. And in this, recruiters will return to the training class with a recruitment project that they design and they present to the class for assessment. So, for example, they might take a module on empathy, go out and develop something on that, then come back, and then we'll all assess it. And the goal of this is for the individual candidate to go deeper into the job description and for the rest of us to learn more from this. And that will be a separate 8-hour module coming back. Now, so, wow, this is a big one. So the program and its impact, our overall findings, we heard what we heard was it would be nice for the Highway Patrol to implement this program department-wide, and how much better the department would be as a result. What we also heard was how this program could help increase staffing levels and be a better service to external stakeholders that we serve. And last, we heard that this program could enable recruiters to instill a sense of pride and honor in being part of the organization, not just to the potential candidates, but to those already employed as well. Because sometimes after you get hired, you kind of lose your way. And the hope here is department-wide implementation. Everyone will touch this program at some level, even if it's just a delivery of the philosophy, right? That would be nice. Now, our next steps are our call to action. We will refine the prototype more testing, more iteration, and we will submit this to our executive staff at a local level for approval and submission. And ultimately, we'd like to, if successful at a local level, we'd like this to be implemented statewide. And then if that's successful, we'd like to send this to POST, which is our police officer standards training course that's provides a curriculum for everyone in the whole state. So that would be very nice because other agencies could lend from this, craft their own recruitment experience or use it as is. And what that'll do is it'll begin to help the narrative change because we're all on the same page. We're all delivering the same good intention, the same good of philosophy to our stakeholders. Now, leading a creative design process. Oh boy, I'm sure you see my freeway here to the right. It's a wild ride. So, but it was a good ride. And I'll tell you that it took my entire leadership program to produce what you guys are seeing this evening. And, you know, though some try, you don't become authentic and empathetic overnight. For me, this program served to sharpen and enhance what was already inside of me, you know, with several added bonuses. Thank you, Mom. And I learned the importance of fostering an atmosphere so that creative confidence could flourish. This is an atmosphere where we're free of judgment, right? You know, we're not going to scrutinize anybody for wild ideas. Hey, we're talking about James T. Kirk and Oompa Loompas, so you get it, right? And I learned how to remain even-tempered. I already had a little bit of that, but I learned more during periods of frustration because I'll tell you, with my team, not only was I was leading my own peers, but I was leading superiors as well. So the roles were reversed on the team. I was the leader, and people were subordinate that traditionally were my leaders. So it was kind of weird, you know, paradox here. But I had to remain even-tempered because, you know, sometimes the leader in my subordinate wanted to surface, and you know, things went a certain way that I might not have liked. But I remained even, equanimity. I learned the importance of systems thinking and how important that is to the organization. Really diving into recruitment and understanding the importance of that really enhanced system thinking. You know, old school ways of thinking, everyone is just so concerned about their individual job, their individual tasks, and you know, I'm sure to get a paycheck kind of thing. And they don't think about the impact of what they do daily to the organization and how that matters, right? So I learned that ad nauseum here studying recruitment. I also learned the importance of using my gift of discernment coupled with the power of the Enneagram. And this helped me, you know, to lead across multiple platforms and personalities. For those of you that don't know what the Enneagram is, I know it was mentioned earlier this evening. It's a tool that will help you recognize certain personalities and understand the triggers, understand the healthy sides, the unhealthy sides, and lead more effectively, okay? I also learned how to strategize and forecast future outcomes. Now, when, you know, typically when you think of future, you think of something fantasy-wise, but no, the way we learned it was academic. This was scientific, and there was no guesswork in this. So what this did for me is help me understand how you can produce the potential for multiple outcomes to be prepared for in an organization, right? Not predicting, but producing a sample of what could happen and being prepared for those could happen. And my last learning, my biggest one, was that I am the prototype of Azusa Pacific's Master of Arts and Leadership program. I am the solution to the problem of failed leadership wherever it exists. I am the 21st century God-inspired leader. Amen. And thank you. And yes, that's me up there, top left, as a new recruit 23 years ago. And here I stand today, still serving you. Thank you, and God bless you.